Major funding for Frontline is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Additional funding is provided by this station and other public television stations nationwide, and by the Chubb Group of Insurance Companies, for over 100 years providing worldwide business and personal insurance through independent agents and brokers.
We think of them as the enemy. 250 million faceless people of the Soviet Union. We know very little about them. We never meet them or even see them up close. And yet they are right here among us. Yes, the Russians are here.
From the network of public television stations, a presentation of KCTS Seattle, WNET New York, WPBT Miami, WTVS Detroit, and WGBH Boston. This is Frontline with Jessica Savage.
Have you ever thought how wonderful it might be not to have to worry about job security, education, medical attention? Not bad. But would you in turn sacrifice your right to change jobs, the right to choose your education, to move from one place to another at will? Think carefully. The people you will meet in tonight's film did. They are Russians who chose to leave the Soviet Union and settle here in America, united by one desire, a better life, more freedom. They now have lived among us from 1 to 10 years. Those in this film are living in areas of New York and Philadelphia. They came here from all walks of life, diverse economic backgrounds in the Soviet Union. It is important to remember that these people did not exactly win good citizenship awards in Russia. However, you will not exactly find them to be outspoken supporters of America either. Tonight, on Frontline, the Russians are here. It's a special film essay produced, directed, and written by Ofra Bakel and narrated by Anita Sangiolo. This is a rare chance for us to learn something about the Soviet view of American freedom, and perhaps to learn something of our own view as well.
They are pilgrims from a mysterious land. They've come to our shores, vindicating our belief in the values of our democratic society. It's a wave of immigration which began in 1971, when the Soviet Union, for reasons which are still not clear, let go of some of its citizens. The official policy allowed Jewish families to reunite in Israel. But the Soviet bureaucracy, unusually lax, let others with no valid claims slip through. Of the 250,000 who left the Soviet Union in the last 10 years, 100,000 now live in the United States. Half of them on the East Coast, where they built their communities with their lifestyle, their language, and their culture. It's a mini Russia with Russian sounds and Russian faces.
Что мы будем делать на море?
Почему? Потому что не упускали. Было на замке. Конечно. Я хотел с ним просто поговорить.
Ничего, мы будем там кататься. Я буду
It has its own music, its own games and entertainment, its films, even its film stars. People we have never heard of, like Alina Rybak and Boris Sichkin, are known to every Russian. and will fill a hall of thousands with standing room only. Only a few years ago, they were in Russia, living a life of rigid ideology and daily hardships. A life of food lines and shortages, a few amenities and making do, where luxury goods could only be dreamt about. Leaving Russia for America, all things seemed within reach. And they found themselves in a world where the clouds were fur-lined and it rained salami.
Господа нью-йоркцы, прибывшие с Одессы, я пару слов по существу.
A world of American abundance. Every weekend, a celebration while they remember Odessa. Remember and eat. Remember and drink.
Не может быть Одесса, Одесса без евреев, Одесса не Одесса, без вот таких людей.
The freedom of America, the possibilities of America, the only place in the world where X-rated movies speak Russian.
Если это так, это не слишком привлекательно. Значит, эротика — это...
Путь через любовь. Школа очеловечивания сексуальных актов.
Нет! Нет, нет! Нет!
The unpleasant parts of life in America are made easier by friendly authorities.
Okay, we do not want you to recommend or to trust this chain.
Don't only use a chain.
Don't use the chain. Don't open the door with the chain.
We always use our peephole. We look through the door. If we don't know who they are, we don't open the door. We told you last time, in fact, that the police don't come unannounced. The telephone company doesn't come unless you call them. We never open the door for anybody we don't know who it is. Especially in the summertime.
It gets hot.
Have no air conditioning.
You want to leave your door open
To
a
get a
little
draft.
bit to get some air from the hallway? Don't.
No good. Garnished. No good.
But the relations with the authorities, benign as those are not as close as they seem on the surface.
I've noticed with every dealing I've ever had with them that they tend to shy away from us. They're very fearful of us, and they back away from the establishment, and they have nothing to do with the police at all. That's a very bad hang-up from Russia.
We know who they are, and the teachers refuse to go to court.
I think they have a very hard time understanding or accepting the freedom that is offered in America. And I think that they we've had things where things are openly available to them, and they might try and go around to circumvent certain things.
They were buying forged Russian licenses so that they can go down to motor vehicle to obtain a regular driver's license. And they were paying a lot of money. Where if they would just realize all they had to do was go down to motor vehicle, take out a permit form, which it's a $5 fee, take a test, and then have a driving test, and they would have got a New York City license. And it may have been that in Russia, everything was done by payoffs. I'm not an expert about Russians, but I believe that that was their system.
A system of an underground, illegal economy, which Luba, now a cafe owner, tries hard to explain.
You know, it's very difficult to explain to you. Very difficult. You must live in this country. You must born in this country. In Russia. If you work, you or your husband in Russia, you can't make a life. You can't buy nice things what you want. It's impossible. If you want have what you want, you must steal. You make business, or monkey business, or black market, or something. You must make something.
And that's all Russians?
Most of them.
They have to learn that in the United States it's not done this way. We do everything by the book. They have rules, regulations. They have rights. And until they learn that they do have rights and they have freedom here, it's going to be very, very tough.
You are all new arrivals to this country.
Freedom is what they come for.
A very short time, right? 3 months?
It is what they tell us. It is what we want to hear.
Can you tell me how you see freedom for you and what it means to you?
Freedom, it means, for me, it means to speak that I want, and to do that I want to do.
For me, freedom, it's freedom for work for myself.
I think freedom means you can find all kinds of books, starting from early history, all over the world, all kinds of languages.
I think that in this country, I don't be afraid of my children, of their future, of their life.
But making one's way in America, it's hard to hold on to the ideals.
It's too much. You know, it's too much freedom here.
Who is there too much freedom for?
I'll tell you, it's too much freedom for criminals, too much freedom for young people. I'm telling you.
Why did you come here?
Why I come here? I want to be free.
Half of the cab drivers in New York City seem to be Russian. They have their own meeting places, their restaurants, where they will drive from miles away so that they can eat Russian food, see Russian faces, and express Russian thought.
Why did you come here?
I want to be free.
It depends how do you understand freedom. I'm free. I'm free working 20 hours. I'm free. I'm free to go to friends, but I have no money. You know? What do you mean free? Free. It's all depends what do you think about, how do you understand it. It's a big, it's not easy. All this problem, if somebody tell you, I came, I didn't like regime, I like it here, I don't like it there. Each country has its own problems and good points and bad points.
But in keeping the score, Russia seems to get most of the good points, mainly for the vast network of free social services it offers all its citizens. Ironically, Freedom for all in America is something they now frown on.
Too much freedom. Over here, too much freedom. Because
Too much freedom for you too?
not for everybody. For bad people, there's too much freedom.
What is this strange notion of freedom?
If you will have conversation with Soviet immigrants, everybody will tell about freedom and will answer to you. Definitely, I want to be free. Exactly, I want to be. I came for being freedom. But when you will go farther...
Dr. Simkin is a psychiatrist and a Soviet immigrant.
This person does not understand what is real freedom, because they never had real freedom. Soviet people are in mass some new creation, as called Homo Sovieticus. Every child who is born in Soviet Russia is pre-programmed to be the soldier of great, great army, what is Soviet folk now.
Будем борцами! С утренней линейки шагом марш!
What is army? Army is the necessity to obey orders. And every step in life can be programmed by hierarchy of orders. And Soviet government and Soviet ideology built this army during all the Soviet period of Soviet Russia.
60 years of one party, one truth, one voice.
Морской порт. Здесь теперь находятся морские пехотинцы США из так называемых международных сил разъединения.
A lifelong indoctrination not only to obey orders, but to obey them willingly. Every individual is made to feel needed by the state. Freedom, they learn, is the individual's understanding of society's needs and the state taking care of the individual's needs. This is the only true free society. Individual freedom leads to chaos, the capitalistic system to a lawless jungle. It is the people who have heard these words every day of their lives, even if they didn't believe them, who are transplanted suddenly to our world. They are bound to feel somewhat frightened and lost. Soviet immigrants reveal some of their thoughts and feelings in letters to their newspapers.
Уважаемый редактор,
Dear editor,
7 лет мы в Америке.
we came here 7 years ago and are doing well.
Но в погоне за долларами мы
But chasing dollars, we have lost our child.
всматриваюсь в лицо моей
I look at the face of my daughter and I see a stranger. At 17, she knows all there is to know about sex. Sometimes I don't know where she is or with whom. They call it here privacy.
I can think of nothing but my business. I have to make decisions all the time, decisions that may influence my future and the future of other people who depend on me. American businessmen talk about how they like to take risks. I like risks about as much as I like the KGB. In Russia, I didn't have to worry about financial risks.
Уважаемый господин редактор,
Dear editor, we all know that in Russia there are many problems.
Всюду нищета и одни заботы.
But at least there you always know the address to go to with your complaints. The government could punish you, but it could also protect you.
Здесь в Америке.
Here in America, we may have fewer problems, but there's no place to go with our complaints. You are nobody's responsibility. You are free and on your own.
Предоставлена самой себе.
It was freedom from authorities that they most wanted. Ironically, it's what they now miss. There are several newspapers which have been established in the West in the last 10 years by Soviet immigrants. Alex Guinness and Peter Weil are journalists on the New American Gazette, published in New York City.
We got our own democratic experience in the newspaper New American. And we are making the attempt to involve the democratic mind into the mind, democracy into the mind of our emigrant society. But I think it is very difficult, mostly because ourselves.
Sergei Doblatov is the former editor-in-chief of the newspaper.
In Russia, every morning I was coming to my job, and I knew exactly what to do, what to write, what to think, and what no think. Because for example, in newspaper, every month we received the list, directions about political persons and another situation in the world. And I knew that Mr. Franco, it's bad, Mr. Allende, it's good, and it was very comfortable. Then we arrived here, and I became editor-in-chief of Russian newspaper, and nobody told me what to do, what to think, what to write. I must to decide it every day myself. And it's interesting, it's normal, but it's not very comfortable.
It's very difficult for Russian people to understand that everybody has different point of view.
To expose negative events is considered freedom. To show protesting homosexuals and lesbians on television is considered democracy.
It looks funny, but if somebody doesn't agree with an article in our newspaper, he doesn't try to write the opposite article, but his first wish is to close the newspaper and put all of us into the jail. It's true. It's funny and it's very sad, but it's true.
The passage to freedom is not only hard on journalists and opinion makers, it's a bumpy ride for the ordinary man and woman who encounter dozens of small, everyday difficulties for which they have not been prepared. Marina was a museum curator in Leningrad. Like everyone else in Russia, she was employed by the state. Here she became a tour organizer and has her own business. The transition has not been easy.
Well, in Russia, it's really secure. Most of the people, when they graduate from colleges, they get their position, and most of them, they hold their position to the end of their days. They don't want to have any changes, even though they're not satisfied. They don't try to discover, to find out if they're satisfied or not, because they believe that this is the only way to live their life. Here in America, you have to get adjusted to a new way of life. If you're not satisfied with your job, go and look for something new, or try to create something new. That happened to me, but it's not easy. Because in Russia, you can live very happy life. You don't have to fight. You don't have to struggle for that. And here is so different. For example, by the end of last year, I felt so great, and I thought that I had the best business. I was making so decent money, and I was looking for a new house, and I was looking for something new and different, and I thought, oh, here is my freedom. And the new year started, and in one day, everything changed. I was not making money at all, and I was thinking what was going to happen if I will spend all of money I have already. Who is going to come and tell me, I have a job for you, come and take it? So from that point, I think it's very difficult. And that is the reason why so many people who came from Russia to America feel so unhappy, even though they have their freedom. So many people in Russia were dreaming of that freedom. They were repeating that word hundreds and hundreds of times, but no one of them really realized what was that. They didn't think that freedom was freedom to go and look for your job, freedom to go and fight for your future, freedom to go and find something for your kids, freedom to go and decide what are you going to do tomorrow. So freedom really becomes very terrifying sometimes, difficult for them, and for some of them it becomes a real tragedy because people don't have that experience to fight for their life every day of their life.
Exhausted from the daily struggle, inexperienced in travel and the ways of the free world, most Soviet immigrants are not adventurous. Many stick together and move in guided tours, even in the cities where they now live. Marina's tours are mini courses on the American scene. First, there is the inevitable geography lesson.
Так вот, дорогие друзья, друзья мои, с правой стороны, go slow, вы увидите Вашингтон-бридж, Манхэттен-бридж, извините, вы увидите Манхэттен-бридж, Бруклинский и Манхэттенский бриджи соединили Манхэттен с Бруклином, Паури и Пелл, а справа Сан-Джон the Divine.
The things to do in America and places to do them in.
Вы видите отель Пьер, гигантский отель Плаза на ланче, на бранче, с левой стороны Сакс Фифth Авеню.
A short but comprehensive discourse on the most important American institution of all, money.
Money. Итак, дорогие друзья, мы с вами находимся на Уолл-стрит. Can you stop a bus for a second? Мы с вами проезжаем крупнейшую и мощнейшую фирму под названием Merrill Lynch, крупнейшие брокеры, таких как фирма Rockefeller, таких как фирма Morgan. Вы видите здание American Exchange. Итак, сейчас, друзья мои...
But while Marina educates others, she must constantly continue to educate herself.
In America, since I started my business, I don't remember one single day where I would feel happy from the beginning of my day till end. I would probably feel happy for 10 minutes and then I would think, what's going to happen tomorrow? You have to learn how to deal with the competition, and I think competition is the most difficult thing to learn in America. It's very difficult to learn how to fight on legitimate basis because all of us who came to this country, from some point we are very aggressive, I find, and we want to have our business, we want it badly. And when I started my business and a couple months later someone also decided to do the same, my first feeling was to go and kill him. And then I had to learn how to do it indirectly, how to improve my business, how to try to be better, and how to attract people on a different way. So here we have to learn how to have different mentality.
But a different mentality is not an easy thing to come by, especially when one was born and grew up in the Soviet Union. There are only a few lucky ones to whom the new mentality seems to come easily and naturally.
Hi, yeah, it's me. Would you take a look for one stock in particular? It's American Exchange Instrument Systems, ISY.
Michael Kroll has been in the West for 4 years.
Okay, I'll hold on. Hello, здравствуйте. Нет, ничего страшного. When I came to the United States, I didn't have any ideas what I'm gonna do. I had different education. I was studied technology. I didn't finish it. Then I was a soldier in the Russian army for 2 years. Then I studied medicine. In particular, I didn't have any profession. But I have experience in carpentering. So I became a carpenter here. And I built a few things as a carpenter. Once I was hired to build a deck in a country. It was my first big job. I didn't even know how much to charge. Call me back, okay? In the evenings, because I stayed in this house, I saw the gentleman who hired me reading newspaper with these little numbers and asked him what it is. He said it's a stock market report. And I said, what these little numbers mean? He said, it's a prices. And if it's +1, it's +$1. And I said, how come? So if I buy 1,000 shares of this stock, today and tomorrow it's +2 points, it means I made $2,000. He said, yes. And I said, it's very easy way to make money. He said, yes, but if it go down 2 points, then you lose $2,000. So, and I liked the idea. And then I asked him some more questions. And whatever he said was kind of easy for me to understand. And I think I even started to give him some suggestions by the end of this conversation. So I was a carpenter who became interested in the finances. So, and it went out, and it's really something I would like to do professionally.
Michael Kroll's office is filled with Soviet immigrants eager to be initiated into the mysteries of American money-making.
Mr. Taran, Michael Kroll will see you now.
Можно? Да.
Здравствуйте.
Да, приветствую.
Здравствуйте.
Присаживайтесь.
Спасибо.
Я вам дам свою карточку, чтобы вы меня всегда могли найти. Меня зовут Михаил Кролл.
Michael's sales pitch to his customers is a sobering one. In this rich country, he claims, for lack of good advice, 95% of Americans cannot afford to retire without the help of their Social Security payments.
И не могли бы прожить без Social Security пенсии. Americans, they ask who you work for, what's your company, what's your track record, why you suggest this, why it's good for me. And if they don't understand sometimes, if they're not experienced, they try to criticize your professional judgment. Поэтому у вас будет набор или portfolio of investments. Russians, they're not analyzing what you actually suggesting or advising. Once they decide to trust you, they do what you say.
Once they trust you, they will hand over their worldly possessions, often in cash, an old habit from the Soviet Union, which has no banking system and no investment opportunities.
Statement от тех финансовых организаций, где будет вам открыт аккаунт. Okay. So let me tell you that 95% of Americans statistically cannot afford to retire without Social Security income. So then Americans in generally poor when they become old because they did not care a lot to develop some kind of program.
All it takes to correct this sad situation is some savings and a little Russian know-how. Michael believes that America is the land of limitless opportunities, so wonderful that even Americans do not grasp its wonders. What the communists have been fighting and killing for 60 years, America has achieved and doesn't even know it. A peculiarly Soviet view of the ideal society.
Now, in America is now communism exists. It's not my opinion, it's a fact, okay? Communism is very simple to understand. It's an idea in which everybody have food, shelter, and can survive, okay? In America, if tomorrow I will say, I cannot work, I'm tired, I'm destroyed, I'm nobody, I want to be taken care of by society. So society have here benefits, social benefits like welfare, Medicare, housing, and people who live on this benefit because they deserve so, because they have children, because they're sick, whatever it is, these people better off material-wise than middle class and Russian. So it means they don't give anything, but they have everything of necessity. This is a communism. It exists here, as it was planned by Karl Marx.
In Russia?
In Russia it do not exist because in Russia you have to work for living by law. If in Russia you don't work, you will be punished, you will be forced to work, to take some type of employment.
The problem with this easy existence that America seems to offer is that it doesn't provide what the Soviet immigrants crave, social status. In the money-poor Soviet economy, status was linked to title and position. So in America, when youngsters find work and parents don't, the self-image of the family is badly shaken.
My father was a good engineer, and I think with experience what he had almost 20 years in the company, avia company. So he thought with his specialty, he will find a job here without any problem, because he's a real specialist. But here he's unemployed. For 2 years he doesn't work. He feel like insulted that I'm working and he's not, and I support all the family. So for now, well, he doesn't say me much about it, but he feel not good.
My mom was chief nurse
in hospital. My mom had really good job. Everybody liked her, and she was proud of what she was doing. She was working with people. It's really hard to explain, but she did something good. Here she can't pass the test to be a nurse, even a regular nurse. And it's really turning her down. And
it's so hard for them to adjust because there was something there, there's nothing here. They had power, they had authority, they were respected. And they come here like they were managers and bosses, and they had all those people who listened to them and who respected them. They come here and they're nothing. They work as clerks and they work in factories. Even though they were engineers, they can't find jobs because even though they were chief nurses.
If they knew that it will be like this, like we have now, life, they would never come here.
If mostly people, intellectual people, know before about their situation after 1, 2, 3 years in new country, I think they will never leave their country.
Russia.
We are from Russia.
Dmitry felt important in Russia.
I was a big boss in big military club. I was a boss in student club for students. And I was a boss, my last job, for big radio factory, radio company. Without work, I am nothing. What feeling can have a person? He get up from the bed at 6 o'clock in the morning. What I go to do today? What I go to do at 9 o'clock? What I have to do tomorrow? What will be the day after tomorrow? I don't know what will be happen if we don't have this our radio station.
Дорогие друзья, мы сейчас репетируем литературную часть.
Dmitry and his friends operate, without pay, a small radio station in Philadelphia for Russian immigrants.
Программа «Меридиан». Больше улыбки, пожалуйста, больше. Пожалуйста.
Добрый вечер, уважаемые радиослушатели.
Добрый вечер, дорогие друзья.
В эфире радиопрограмма «Меридиан».
Сегодня у микрофонов «Меридиана»
Анна Виноградова
и Иосиф Дорфман.
Запахло росой. Весна на пороге. Мы свежесть вдыхаем с дыханием эфира.
We prepared, enjoyed for 100,000 people. From this, our feeling is nice.
Пожалуйста, Аннушка, вашу фразу мы знаем.
We feel somebody need us. And this feeling for us very important.
Мы знаем, пожалуйста.
Мы знаем, горшки обжигают.
People 40, 45 years and older, they cry with us, they laugh with us, they like us. And this callings and letters, what we received from the people, it's our life.
Remembering is another part of their life. Remembering Russian songs and images. And so they sit and watch the old Russian movies they had brought with them, over and over.
Теперь подросли, а годы летят, наши годы, как птицы летят. И некогда нам оглянуться назад. Так и живем, не ждем тишины,
Those very Russian images. They exist in America too, but only briefly, in the few days of bad weather, in an otherwise pleasant little seaside neighborhood. The real Russia is far now and lives only in the memory. It is not the snows of Russia they miss, but a feeling of human warmth and care that they had there.
In Russia, people are very much interconnected with each other. In this country, everybody lives by himself or by herself.
Yevgeny Nakliushev is a philosopher.
What shocked me the most was a feeling of emotional coldness of Americans. Everybody who came from Russia feels this thing. I personally was prepared to this experience theoretically, but it was absolutely different things to be prepared theoretically and to be prepared emotionally. Emotionally, I was absolutely not prepared for that. In Russia, friendships are only real thing people have in present. It is the greatest luxury, the greatest treasure we have.
This treasure, this Russian friendship, has fallen victim to the capitalist system.
In Russia, it's the friendship of paupers. We have nothing we can share with one another. You have a bottle of booze, you can share it with your friend. It costs nothing except of pleasure. You have a piece of bread, you can cut it in halves. Two are fed up. In America, it's more complicated. Here it is the struggle for surviving. There in Russia, you can be happy if somebody gives you 3 rubles, which in American currency means about 30 cents. You can buy some booze, you can buy some bread, you can be happy for a whole day. In America, you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your bills, you have to pay 300 will be not enough. And who can share 300? Nobody can. Therefore, friendship here is a little bit more complicated on the Western level.
Our friendship is very close to the drinking. Drinking vodka. Because instead of our political activities, we had never political activities. We have very few money, and friendship with vodka was instead of all these things and many others.
Our best friend maybe was the Russian government, because Russian system helped us to be together, and vodka is the bridge between the people. And now in America, we have, some of us have friends, all of us have vodka, but don't have Russian government.
But the loss, great as it is, may have been worth it. Especially for these people, the artists, the painters, the writers who had come here because they really wanted freedom. Freedom to create, to publish. Konstantin Kuzminsky is an anthologist of Russian literature. For the first time in his life, he can pursue his work in peace and safety.
Here. Прав. Да.
Lev Halif can now write all the books he had always dreamt of writing. No one will harm him or stop him from publishing them. No one, though, will help him sell them. What did he expect of the West?
Я ожидал от Запада, прежде всего, понимания.
As a writer, a poet, I hope to be understood by the West.
Но здесь возможности мои
But my possibilities here are as limited as they were in Russia.
возможности, которые были в России. Если там меня не
There I wasn't allowed anywhere.
здесь меня пускают.
Here I am allowed everywhere.
Я не могу пройти.
But I can't get through.
Трагедия на Западе.
Here, there's masses of freedom and masses of indifference to the written word. In Russia, the writer is a prophet. Here, no one will listen. There's the commercial approach of publishers. They say that American readers don't need my writing. How do they know that they don't need my writing? We have a great mission to write, to tell about our tragedy.
Russian writers, who need Russian writers? They don't need them in Soviet Union, and they're quite satisfied if they have, let's say, 1, 2, 3 is too much to digest for American consciousness. Solzhenitsyn for prose, Brodsky for poetry. Well, that's enough. That's it. And if there come 200 more Russian writers, they cannot digest their own writers in America. Therefore, we are not necessary over here. America is necessary for us. That's another story.
America, with its free choice and vast possibilities. And yet,
we thought here, where they buy and sell culture, where they create fantastic architecture, invest money in everything, here is the place where we can invest our gift, our talent, our ideas and books. Nothing of the kind.
The West is generous in many ways, like distributing food stamps to the newcomers. But it will not grant them the one thing they crave, recognition. What a cult we created in Russia of the West. What an incredible cult.
Чем выше стена, тем нам больше хотелось взглянуть на Запад, не только уехать, Боже мой.
The higher the wall, the more you wanted to look over it.
Более тщательнее слышали, что же там происходит.
The more inaccessible, the more bitter was the thought that we may never see the West.
Горечь осознания, что мы никогда не увидим этот Запад. Боже, какой же культ.
God, what a cult we had created of the West.
И вот тут-то идеализация.
Not only were we naive, the KGB was naive.
А наивно было еще и КГБ. Потому что если бы КГБ знало,
if they knew how we'd be treated in the West,
оно бы давным-давно нас выкинуло назад.
They would have thrown us out long ago.
You see, Russian poets, Russian dissident writers are as famous in Russia as rock stars, movie stars in America. They are admired, they are adored, women are happy to make love to them, friends are happy to supply them with booze or support, whatever. Here in America, nobody needs them. There is a lot of other questions to be solved in America. Therefore, we are an additional question. And to recognize this, it's not much fun and not much pleasure.
И получается, что я тоскую по КГБ.
I actually missed the KGB.
Который обращал на меня внимание.
They paid attention to me.
Рукописи первым и очень тщательно.
They were the first to read my manuscripts thoroughly.
Написал я хорошо или плохо. Это тоже прекрасно, когда, значит, ты чувствуешь пристальное внимание.
It was wonderful to have real attention.
Ты одинок, ты
You are not
под чьим-то
alone.
неусыпным оком. То есть ты чувствуешь свою значимость.
You feel important.
Ты себя осознаешь как настоящий писатель, значит, ты
You feel like a
настоящий.
real writer. You must be a real writer if they are watching you so closely. And from the safety of his kitchen, Halif reflects on democracy.
То есть что такое для меня была демократия?
How did I imagine democracy in Russia?
Когда никто не хватал мою рукопись.
No one would grab my manuscript.
Когда никто не брал меня за
That
горло.
no one would try to strangle
Когда
me.
никто не трогал моего сына.
That no one would hurt my son.
Когда мне давали
That I would be allowed to
возможность
come and go
дышать.
and breathe.
Здесь, когда демократия для
But
всех,
here, where democracy is for everyone, it becomes a circus.
если представить, скажем, цирк,
Imagine a circus which has lions and mosquitoes,
львов и москит,
and you say that they should both have this
сказать, что
democracy?
всем она, демократия, необходима.
But why?
Но почему? этой
Why should
демократии
mosquitoes have the democracy which was designed for lions?
пользоваться москиты? Они же совершенно по-другому ее употребляют.
They will only misuse it.
Демократия.
Democracy.
Для меня это стало абстракцией, бедствием.
What an abstraction it has become for me. What a disaster.
Я не понимаю. Потом парадоксально. Я, воспитанный вне...
What a paradox. I, who was brought up without democracy, felt like a real person in Russia.
Здесь, при максимальной демократии, я такой личностью...
Here, with all the democracy, I feel like a victim.
Жертвой демократии.
A victim of democracy.
И получается, что тоталитарные режимы правы.
And it seems as if the totalitarian regimes are right. I am against totalitarian regimes with all my might. And yet, when I compare them with this maximum of American freedom, I don't know which is better.
Я теряюсь.
I'm lost.
Для меня дико эта демократия.
It's wild, this democracy. Wild. And so democratically and freely, Lev Halif can now walk into Rusika, a bookstore and publishing house, who will display his books for him.
Спасибо. Ее как раз нам не хватает.
Бестселлер.
Как раз мне не хватает ее на полках. Несколько заказов.
They will discuss his other books, which in this free country, the publishing house is free to publish or not to publish. And the Russian readers are also free. They can decide if they want to buy Halif's books or if they don't. They are all free now. They came believing that freedom means a better life, work, success, and recognition. They now realize that freedom means nothing but freedom. They thought that life would be as secure as it was in Russia and free. They know now they have given up every bit of security they had for freedom. Was it worth it? We who never had to make the trade-off are sure it is. Many of those who have made it wonder. Rights, responsibility, freedom do not mean to them what they mean to us. They never will. They are children of another system, a system which they dislike, but which made them what they are. So now they're here. People from another world, trying to cope as best they can with alien dreams and difficult ideas. Was it worth it? Who can tell? The price of admission is high. All we can do is make them feel welcome at the party.
Мои цыганочки, оба! Эх, вы мои смугляночки, эх, мои галочки, где же вы теперь? Люблю вас.
Americans, they don't like us, but at least they don't exterminate us. You see? That is the basic question. They allow us to be, and not to be. They allow us to be.
Подлинные дочери полей, оба! Мои цыганочки, мои смугляночки, эх, мои галочки, где же вы теперь? Люблю вас, милые, люблю красивые, люблю вас, подлинные дочери полей. Давай, давай, давай! Да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да. Люблю вас, милые, люблю красивые, люблю вас, подлинные дочери полей. Да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да. Давай! Да-да-да-да-да-да-да-да. Да-да-да-да-да. Мои цыганочки, мои смугляночки, эх, мои галочки, где же вы теперь?
Why, might you ask, are the Russians so critical of our country? And if they don't like it, why don't they leave? The truth may be that this freedom we hold so dear is a difficult one to comprehend for people brought up in a society that squashes individuality and self-reliance. We're assuming that people oppressed by totalitarian Marxist regimes want to be free. They probably do. But we're also assuming they want our brand of freedom and are willing and able to pay the price for it. For these people, the price is steep. The Russians you saw in tonight's film bought themselves a one-way ticket. When they left the Soviet Union, they were stripped of their citizenship. There is no going back, even if they wanted to. And would we really want them to? They may disagree with us, but whom among us would not guarantee their right to do so? For after all, is that not what American freedom is about? Next week, on Frontline, an investigation into a headline story of recent weeks. Why have more than 350,000 disabled people lost their disability benefits over the past 2 years? His name is Calvin Bickham. His doctor says he's too sick to work. The Social Security Administration says he's not. The administration has toughened its policy, looking for fraud, looking to save money. But how fair has it been? And who's been hurt in the process? Who Decides Disability is the name of the program. It is next on Frontline. I'm Jessica Savage.
For a transcript of this program, please send $4 to Frontline, Box 322, Boston, Massachusetts, 02134. Frontline is produced for the Documentary Consortium by WGBH Boston, which is solely responsible for its content. Major funding for Frontline was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Additional funding was provided by this station and other public television stations nationwide, and by the Chubb Group of Insurance Companies, for over 100 years providing worldwide business and personal insurance through independent agents and brokers.
For video cassette information about Frontline, write to PBS Video, Box 8092, Washington, D.C., 20024.